Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and esteemed participants, very warm welcome to the technical session 4 of the two-day National Conference on Social Production for Inclusive Development. We are gathered here today to start technical session 4, and this technical session shall be chaired by Dr. Tafsir Yasir. We give you warm greetings and a heartfelt welcome to you as the esteemed chair of the technical session 4 at the upcoming event. We are thrilled to have you as part of our program, representing your expertise and knowledge in the field. First of all, I want to introduce Dr. Tafsir Yasir. Tafsir Yasir is an assistant professor at the Department of Political Science, Government College for Women, MA Road, Srinagar. She holds a doctorate degree in political science from University of Kashmir. She has co-authored book chapters in edited volumes published by Routledge, Palgrave Macmillan, and Sage. Her primary research interests include post-colonial feminism, Indian politics, and South Asia. She has also been associated with CSDS New Delhi and IIIS New Delhi. Remember, this conference is not just about acquiring knowledge. It is about forging connections, building networks, and working collectively towards a society that leaves no one behind. Let us embrace the spirit of collaboration and cooperation as we aim to create a world where every individual has equal opportunities and access to social protection. Now it is my honor to invite our esteemed chair to set the tune for this technical session by sharing their valuable insights and vision for achieving social protection for inclusive development. Please join me in giving a warm round of applause to welcome Dr. Tafsir Yasir. Please, ma'am, sit on the session.
Respected Madam Principal, Professor Said Katara, Conference Organizer Dr. Mushtaq Ahmed, Convener of the session Dr. Bashir Ahmed, and the paper presenters, a very pleasant afternoon to you all. The theme of our session is governance and accountability in social protection. According to ILO statistics, today 4 billion people in the world lack any social protection. Only 29% of the world's population they are assessed to social security coverage, and 55% of the people they lack any coverage at all. Social protection therefore matters because it is how society comes together as a whole to help those who, due to one reason or the other, are not in a position to help themselves. So social protection is just like creating a safety net for our people. But all said and done, how are we going to make sure that the policies or schemes that are intended to give this benefit of social protection to our people, how do they actually make the change on the ground? The answer to this question lies in the theme of this conference, of this session actually, that is, good governance. So, good governance for the effective implementation of social protection policies. And well-governed social protection systems will definitely benefit from, we have strong accountability structure, they will definitely benefit from active participation of stakeholders, from transparency in operations, and last but not the least, from easy access to information. We also have ILO Convention number 102 that covers social security governance measures for understanding the responsibility of the state and the importance of the participation of stakeholders in supervision and accountability structures. With time, even global attention is returning to the importance of global governance for achieving the outcomes that we expect from a robust national social protection system. With this, I am hopeful that the proceedings of this session will broaden our conceptions of how governance, accountability, mechanisms, and social protection systems of the state they can work together in facilitating meaningful change in the society of which we are a part of. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Before starting the session, I would like to felicitate the chair. I would like Professor Zohur Ahmad Shah Sahab to please present the movement to the chair. Now I would like to request Professor Mohammed Ashraf Sahab to present and felicitate the chair with certificate of appreciation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Let us begin this technical session with enthusiasm, curiosity, and an open mind. Together, let us strive for a society that embraces the principles of social protection and inclusive development. Thank you very much. You can take and start. Okay.
I'll not take much of your time, but please, paper presenters are requested to finish up your presentation within 5 minutes, and then we'll take up your question and answer session for 2 minutes. Please stick to your timeline, and then I'll have other explain it right there. So we have our first presenter, Dr. Tanveer Ahmed Wani, Dr. Nasrat Bhatt, and Dr. Zohur Ahmed Ganai. They are presenting their paper on deconstructing social and institutional support for women entrepreneurs, a case study of Kashmir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Tanveer Wani, lecturer in the Department of Social Work here. Today, I will be presenting a presentation on a theme which is very much relevant in the context of Kashmir, which is titled as Deconstructing Social and Institutional Support for Women Entrepreneurs, a case study of Kashmir. This is the outline of the presentation which you can see. I would like to start with the introductory part. Women's entrepreneurship has gained increasing recognition as a vital driver of economic growth and development worldwide. In the context of Kashmir, entrepreneurship has traditionally been seen as a male preserve facing resistance from men. Those who are educated and provided either less or inadequate education than their male counterparts due to early marriage or due to son preferences or due to poverty. Now coming to the objective of the study. The objective of the study is to deconstruct the social and institutional support available to women entrepreneurs in the region of Kashmir in order to shed light on the unique context that we have here and examine the factors that contribute or impede their entrepreneurial success. Now here is the methodology. Regarding the research design, we adopted a qualitative research approach with a case study design to explore the social and institutional support for women entrepreneurs in Kashmir. And the participants for the study are women entrepreneurs currently engaged in various business activities in Kashmir. In order to collect the data, we chose the purposive sampling method in order to ensure diversity in terms of business sectors and other parameters. Regarding the data collection, we collected the data through two different tools. First was the in-depth interviews. We formulated semi-structured interviews which were used and conducted with the selected women entrepreneurs. And the interview protocol was developed based on the research objectives of the study. What we explored in the study was social networks, access to resources, cultural norms, institutional support, and challenges faced by women entrepreneurs. And in addition to this, we also conducted focus group discussions in order to gather insights, experiences, challenges, and perceptions related to social and institutional support. And these are the major findings of the study. The first one is social networks acting as source of support for the women entrepreneurs. The findings reveal that social networks play a crucial role in providing support to women entrepreneurs in Kashmir. A participant revealed that strong community and family connections were found to be valuable sources of support, guidance, and access to resources. Also, another participant revealed that social networks facilitated knowledge sharing, mentorship, and emotional support, enabling women entrepreneurs to capitalize on opportunities. Now coming to the cultural norms. Identified as barriers as well as enablers. Cultural norms were identified as both barriers as well as enablers for women entrepreneurs. It was revealed that traditional gender roles and societal expectations limited women's mobility, decision-making power, and access to resources. However, on the other hand, it was found that cultural norms that emphasized women's agency and resilience served as basis for their entrepreneurial endeavors. Also, women entrepreneurs who defied societal norms were able to carve out their own space and build successful businesses. Now coming to another finding, inadequate and gender-biased institutional support. In this part, we found that institutional support for women entrepreneurs in Kashmir is limited and often gender-biased. It was found that government policies and programs were perceived as inadequate in addressing needs and challenges faced by women entrepreneurs. Also, limited access to financial resources and absence of gender-responsive policies undermined the potential for women's economic empowerment. Now coming to another important part related to coping strategies and resilience methods adopted by the women entrepreneurs. Women entrepreneurs were found to be showing exceptional resilience and utilized diverse strategies to overcome various obstacles. The strategies like building partnerships, leveraging social networks that existed in the community or in the family, and seeking mentorship were adopted by women entrepreneurs. Ability to navigate both social and institutional barriers were crucial in sustaining their businesses. Now I will come to the discussion part in order to limit my presentation and complete it within 8 minutes. The study aimed to deconstruct the social and institutional support for women entrepreneurs in the specific context of Kashmir and examine the factors contributing to or impeding their entrepreneurial success. Findings reveal the experiences, challenges, and coping strategies of women entrepreneurs in Kashmir, highlighting the significance of social networks, the influence of cultural norms, and the limitations of institutional support and the demonstration of resilience. These findings have significant implications for policy, emphasizing the need for targeted interventions in order to foster a supportive ecosystem for women's entrepreneurship in Kashmir. Now coming to the recommendations. Based on the findings of the study, several recommendations can be made in order to support women entrepreneurs in Kashmir. Firstly, it is essential to develop targeted interventions in order to create platforms for networking, mentorship, and knowledge sharing to enhance the support available to entrepreneurs. Secondly, addressing cultural norms and biases through awareness campaigns and educational initiatives can promote a more inclusive entrepreneurial environment. Thirdly, policymakers need to frame gender-responsive policies to provide adequate financial resources and offer tailored support services to women entrepreneurs. These are some limitations of the study. The findings cannot be generalized beyond the specific context of Kashmir. Also, the use of qualitative research methods limits the ability to establish causal relationships or provide quantitative generalizations. And now finally the conclusion. This study provides valuable insights into the social and institutional support for women entrepreneurs in the unique context of Kashmir. The findings contribute to our understanding of the challenges and opportunities faced by women here in Kashmir and have important implications for policy and practice.
Thank you, Mr. Kalmi. Do we have any questions?
Thank you very much for your beautiful presentation. It was well organized and well delivered. Congratulations on that. My question is that entrepreneurs across the world, it has been seen that are usually less educated and dropouts. If you take the example of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, for example, they were dropouts. So why is it that most of the entrepreneurs are dropouts? One, there is a change happening now. Well-educated people are choosing to become entrepreneurs. But so far it has been seen that most of the entrepreneurs are dropouts. Why are dropouts entrepreneurs and successful entrepreneurs?
I would like to clarify that our study mainly focused upon deconstructing, which was already mentioned in the objective, to deconstruct the social and institutional support for women entrepreneurs in Kashmir. When we did interviews and also conducted focus group discussions, most of the participants were not dropouts. In Kashmir, I'm talking about our own study.
So like, maybe my point is that this is, since you are saying about deconstruction, I mean deconstruction. And Madhushan, when we were going through these slides, take your mic, sir. You are saying about the deconstruction. I mean, so there are certain barriers. There may be barriers, of course. But when you put it in the framework of deconstruction, so there, I think there is a kind of mismatch. What your title is saying and what you have concluded at the final of your thing. So there, again, if I am a little bit confused about this.
When we talk about deconstruction, we are not talking about only enablers or the positives. We are also talking about the barriers which impede the entrepreneurial success. If you would have seen in the presentation, we have focused on the cultural norms that facilitated where the entrepreneurial success, where the family members were supportive, where the community members were supportive. In addition to that, we found some participants complaining that the family members or the head of the family did not allow them to start their own ventures. But somehow they defied the familial dictates and established their own ventures.
Sir, as you mentioned that government support is inadequate regarding the empowerment of entrepreneurship power. So I want to know what you suggest to outcome those inadequate support. What inadequacies are there from government side so that we may empower the entrepreneurship of women in our particular.
What we actually found in the study that the women entrepreneurs disclosed that the government organization which they approached, like there's an organization running in Kashmir, a government organization, NRLM, National Rural Livelihood Mission. These are the perceptions of the women entrepreneurs. We cannot put our own opinions into it. Their observations were, their perceptions were that we are not provided tailored services. The services do not address our specific and particular needs, which may be attributable to the patriarchal system of our society. That the policies and programs framed by the in a specific context.
Do you have any other questions from the students? We now have our next paper presenter, Dr. Nazir Ul Amin Gash. He will be speaking on social protection and accountability from governments for the proper realization of 5 social development goals in India.
All of you, as all of you are familiar, understand from the college, and my distinction is given earlier, and Dr. Nazir Gash, and in this conference, social protection and inclusive development. And here the paper presented. Observe the paper, and I hope I will take this, if chair will allow me, for the proper presentation of this paper. Then we get the access. Otherwise, it may remain as a question. So without taking so much time, the caption work is, please, Professor Bishop. Caption work is social protection and accountability from governments for the proper realization of 5 social development goals. India. Abstract is everything. What we have to perceive. Studies, I have made a presentation for more than 38 pages and 38 slides. It is not possible to, you people will understand within 5 to 7 minutes. It is not possible, but I will do like how this abstract you can get.
Please move up
Oh,
to the introduction.
okay. Good governance and accountability of social protection system is one of the preconditions for effective realization of human rights. Governance starts at the highest level of policy making, including coordination across diverse sectors, schemes, institutions, sectors, and levels of government at every level of social protection implementation. Well-governed social protection system benefits from strong accountability structures, active participation of the stakeholders, transparency of operations, and viable access to information. Likewise, effective governance encompasses good management, benefit delivery that respects the principles of availability, accessibility, and adequacy, contribution collection, protection, and privacy, as well as clear complaint and appeal procedures. Clear complaint and appeal procedures to realize prime social development goals. Here, In this title, we captured study social protection and accountability of governments for the proper realization of proper social development goals in India. In this paper, social protection, accountability and governance for the realization of primary social development goals on its diverse aspects have been evaluated to check the level of realization standards. In this study, it has been found that social security domains under no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being have been moderately realized. Whereas social security domains under decent work and economic growth and peace and justice are feebly realized. This is the abstract. I will not touch the introduction. Social security is quite big in title from the last 1.5 days. India always had a joint family system that took care of social security needs of all the members, provided it had access and ownership of material assets like land. In keeping with its cultural traditions, family members and relatives have always discharged a sense of shared responsibility towards others. पुराने ज़माने कोई ज़रा serious दिखाना चाह लोग यूज़ कर सकते चाह but system has totally right now changed. The extent that the family has resources to draw upon, this is often the best relief for the special needs and care required by the aged and those in the poor health. This is our traditional setup. Now next slide. Yes. Social security laws. I can prove in social security, incumbents are not, we can say, destitutes, divorced, victims, surplus, particularly subordinates, those who are working in informal sector, those who are white-collar job holders, even your excellencies who have good offices, they can become victimized. And Kashmir is the best example. It can be elaborated through judicial guidelines. As I have right now heard that chair is from political science, and there is no disturbance so far as this judicial parameters and political context are concerned. They can get, and the audience are over there. Here, in Social Security laws, Employees State Insurance Act 1948, which covers factories and establishments with 10 or more employees and provides for the comprehensive medical care to the employees and their families, as well as the cash will be during the sickness and maternity and monthly payments. But this act is merely drafted of 100 sections. Nothing is out there. This is merely a social security. आप लोगों ने insurance किया, फिर क्या निकला? Challenges are there. Then the Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952. Those who are working in formal sector. अब रिटायरमेंट नहीं देंगे आपको, ग्रेजुएटी नहीं देंगे, पेंशन नहीं देंगे, जॉब की सिक्योरिटी है, जिनके पास 2-2 लाख की 3 लाख की जॉब है ना, right now they are struggling with the political and legal system of India. Then Employees Compensation Act. You people are working somewhere, you get victimized. Before a day, you are possessing salary of lakhs, but once you get victimized by any operational procedure, at that very time, you demand Employees Compensation Act 1923 to came in operation, in which you are demanding relief. Again, this is the question of social protection. What about those who are living below the line? That is a challenge for our society. The payment of gratuity act. I can prove in this ambit each and every strata population came into being other than upper class and upper middle class. The rest were the victims. Next slide. We have social security programs like JSY, RSBY. Please, next slide. Next slide. Yes. And social security ABY. Next slide. We have real workers, Srivastava, Brooke et al., Ordigis, Das Gupta et al. We have various works because we don't have time. They have their different opinions. I will not touch out there. Sir, go towards the objective page. Go ahead. Here. In this study, here the objectives are to evaluate the social security and no poverty goal with reference to accountability. I have touched the Millennium Development Goals. Social security, poverty is the concern. Zero hunger is the concern. Good health and well-being is the concern. Decent work and economic growth is the concern. Decent work and economic growth. Those who are postdocs, they are struggling for contract. What about those who are illiterates? जो नड्डे उन्हें पता ही नहीं है क्या करेंगे हम? What type of secret we have? So, go ahead. I don't have time for discussions. We have various things here, but here we have the page of major findings from backside, third or fourth page. Major findings. Go ahead. Yes. What we have observed? I have not consumed so much of time. Social Security's no poverty goal and accountability has been moderately realized. It's the scale. It has been moderately realized in our city, in our country. As well as having evaluated, so far we have evaluated this domain, the data compilation of the captured domain is at preliminary stage. जो भी data है कहीं लिए Indian government के पास है नहीं. West has, ILO has data, but we don't have data yet. Next, Social Security's zero hunger goal on accountability has again moderately realized. Check your societies here and there. Get evaluative technique, get observational technique, frame questionnaires and check. On good health and well-being, what about medication, what about medical policy, what about your health? Those government servers who are getting fixed salary, their 50 to 60% being get consumed by these, we can say, fake slogans of medical security. It is nowhere. We have mere applicable data proof. Situation from the ground is in every nook and corner of the UT is against the data trends. हमारे पास data है ये किया है, लेकिन जो ground में देखते हैं वहाँ कुछ नहीं है. Then social security is decent work and economic growth. आपको हाथ है job का. कितने बच्चे यहाँ पढ़े लिखे जिन्हें उम्मीद है कि हमें job मिलेगी in private sector. 10,000 की तनख्वाह. You will invest more than 15 years in your education. कितनों को जो मुलाजिम यहाँ पे कितनों को threat है? Threat of social security by one way or other way. So far I have touched these sections. Our provisions, legal provisions. Social security and peace and justice. This is my last point. Peace and justice. जब दो निवाले खाने को नहीं मिलेंगे वो स्टेट कहाँ रहेगी? There is Morris Acts, there is armed conflict, there is failure of constitution, and there is failure of legal system. We have to ponder over it. If ma'am will allow, there is a single page for conclusion. If ma'am, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
The area under investigation, social protection and accountability of governments for the proper realization of prime social development goals in India. We are living in information and technological age. That means data should be ready. Simple access to the services is translated to challenge for the developing economics of the world like India. लेकिन जो सबसे पहला वो अभी चैलेंज है. कौन बच्चा यहाँ किसी पोर्टल पे जाएगा और जॉब लगेगी 2,000 की 3,000 की? किसको लगेगी? IT है. This is again a fake slogan. Why? Because it is at infancy stage. So far as the services are concerned. Secondary data on the said theme is in bulk. Data इतना कुछ किया गया है ILO में, इंटरनेशनल लेबर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में, आपको आपके लैपटॉप फिल हो जाएंगे, but all in vain. इंडिया में इनफॉर्मल लेबरर्स का डेटा ही नहीं बना है. रिकमेंडेशन में हमने लिखा है कि we should go for such data. We should go for such data. Accountability on the different domain of the social security protection is no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being are moderately realized. What I have inferred in abstract, why does decent work and economic growth, peace and justice growth, and accountability are feebly realized? Feebly realized means ये ना के बराबर है. Take the example of Kashmir. During analysis of the factors under study in the captioned paper, we cannot claim that all the domains can be realized and the accountability in the deliverance is up to the bar with the on-ground situation in the city and the Union of India, even though DBT, direct transfer system, direct benefit transfer system. पहले सब्सिडियां मिल रही थी, स्टेट दे रही थी. Now what is happening? Government is shedding off all the subsidy burdens from our budget. कोई आपकी कदर नहीं करने वाला है. What is happening over there? I will say my last slide. In the union, we still have good health, decent work ethics, economic growth, peace and justice. Our challenges are the most populous country like India. Being India, it is the most populous country. Before 3 months, data from statistical organizations came. India left behind so far as India leave China on the second spot. But we have enormous human resource, but it is in shackles and fat. Social security is the concern. It is a prime objective of the state. ये हमारे मजहबी गुरु का भी एक क्वेश्चन है, ये हमारे समाज का भी है, ये जुडिशरी का भी है और लेजिस्लेचर का भी. It is similar question. It will consume decades to crack this question. Thank you.
You have questions? Any questions?
Any question?
You did a very good presentation. Just clarification. You have retained the title Social Prime Goals.
Yes, yes.
Why not Sustainable Development Goals? Because when dwelling into the slides, I saw more you were talking about
Okay, sir.
those goals.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I have right here the social developmental goals, not millennium or we can say sustainable development goals. When we talk of millennium development goals, it is a work, it is a slogan of UN from 2000 to 2015. We are talking about millennium development goals. From 2016 to 2030, we are talking about sustainable development goals. From these sustainable development goals, what my objectives are in this big uncertainty, I have touched it here because I have taken the preliminary goals. I have started from the ground. Those we can consider them obsolete. ये कहाँ करेंगे हम क्या करेंगे? But here, why we use the term prime? Prime means it is an inessential stage. We have not, India has not reached it to discuss and have solutions for sustainable development goals. We have touched merely the prime developmental goals. Why prime? It is at infancy. So work on social security, it is at infancy level. What I believe, as I have worked on this area. Thank you. Any more question?
Assalamualaikum everyone. Thank you, sir, for this beautiful presentation. Sir, my question is, you talked about the social threats, particularly in our Kashmir region. Sir, how to overcome these threats in touching the both judiciary in Islam prospects? Thank you.
I will first clear, I did have used the term social threat. We are here dealing with social security parameters or domains. Social security. Social security and social threat, these are two different, we can say, operational objectives. But in Kashmir, where we don't have to talk about Kashmir, take these all Millennium Development Goals, or we can say Sustainable Development Goals, or the Prime Developmental Goals, on which we are here discussing. As per the data, as per the ground situation, these are at fact. Why? Government is not working what we should work. अपनी भी जॉब चल रहे हैं, क्या है जॉब्स लगेगी, क्या है गरीब को दे रहे, क्या है सब्सिडी क्या चल रही है, क्या है मुलाजिम तनख्वाह ले रहे हैं, 2 साल बाद रिटायर हो रहा है, कुछ नहीं मिलेगा, जाओ। अब इस बूढ़े की इलाज पता है गांव के उस हॉस्पिटल में कर दिया जो पहले 5 स्टार हॉस्पिटल में जाता था, क्या है जब ब्यूरोक्रेट ब्लू कलर जॉब होल्डर उस सोशल सिक्योरिटी में आ रहा है, then what about those who are victimized? हमें उनका सोचना है. We have to lift these objects from the ground. I think you can understand. Once we are not in proper operation from judicial and political and legislative guidelines on the proper track to govern the society as state, then social security term into fact. That is national challenge. Thank you.
Any more questions? No? Yeah. So we have the next presenter representing we have Professor Anamsha Raj, hopefully I'm pronouncing it right. Akansha, are you with us? So Professor Anansha Raghav will be presenting her paper on the exploring the social protection framework to address climate change related vulnerabilities. Over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Am I audible?
You could be a little bit
Okay. Shall I proceed, ma'am?
yeah, you're audible.
Okay. Yes. First of all, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to present my paper in this August gathering. So, my topic is exploring the social protection framework to address climate change related vulnerabilities. So, I had shared my presentation. Will somebody share it here, or should I try to? I'll go ahead. Okay.
Yes, you can share.
Yes, you can share this presentation.
I think there's a problem. I think there's a problem. I'm unable to share my screen, but I'll go ahead anyway. Is it fine? Okay. Okay. Um, so, yes. So, my objectives of this study were to understand the impact of climate change on communities, uh, and uh, and the second one was to explore if the social protection as a mechanism, as a public policy, will be able or how will it be able to reduce the impact of climate change on the communities, or help the communities tackle better with the climate change related impacts. So these two were my objectives of the study, and the methodology used was mostly descriptive in nature, qualitative, and it was mostly review of the existing literature on social protection and climate change. So. To start with the topic, so to understand social protection mostly, so social protection has been defined by the International Labour Organization as policies and mechanisms through which poverty and vulnerabilities during the life cycle of a person can be tackled with or reduced. So that is the definition given by ILO, and mostly the social protection framework that is being followed almost by all the countries in the world are mostly of two types: contributory and non-contributory. So under the contributory mechanisms of social protection, the kind of contributory mechanisms are usually social insurances that are provided in the times of distress situations like old age, disability, maternity issues, etc., or labor-related initiatives which are provided by the employer's end, like job training, minimum wages initiatives, or accidental coverages, etc. Those are the kind of contributory schemes, so contributory social protection schemes that we have, and the non-contributory maybe in the form of cash or kind benefits which are provided to the elderly population or the disabled population, or it may also be in the form of subsidies and waivers that are provided by the government, and usually the non-contributory social protection schemes are universal in nature, where a large population is usually catered to, the contributory schemes are usually targeted towards the particular sections of the society, like in the case of labor-related initiatives, one has to be in the labor, working and in the labor force to be to avail the benefits of the contributory schemes. Mostly in today's time, when climate change has created new vulnerabilities, the scope of social protection in dealing with them has come to be immense, and climate change actually has created new risks which are not covered by existing frameworks. So social protection system as a public policy instrument, when coupled with existing national climate change and disaster action plans, can actually be beneficial for the populations which are impacted by climate change. And many international conventions actually, like the right to social security under the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, or under the Universal Declaration of Human Rights as well, which has focused on a right to an adequate standard of living, or a right to social security, which are some international directions which help us in understanding the role of social protection in reducing climate change related vulnerabilities. Also another international convention which is really important in this sector is the Warsaw International Mechanism for Loss and Damage, which was adopted in 2013 under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. And it has focused on the role of social protection in dealing with climate risk, specifically by under three criteria. It has focused on three action areas. So first of all, it focuses on understanding climate risk, since the risks created by climate change are very intense in nature, and not just these are not just long-term risks that have been created, but they are often climate change has often brought on or created a lot of short-term shocks and disasters which the populations have been reeling under. It first of all focuses on understanding the climate risk. Second, it tries to delegate resources and build capacity to deal with it. And the third one is it tries to bring together different stakeholders who can work together to deal with the climate change related vulnerabilities. But one thing that is impacting the scope of social protection in dealing with climate risk is that in many of the countries, especially in Africa, Arab or Asia, we have seen that there is very low investment in social protection, and only about 11% of the GDP is being invested in the same, and also because of increased informality of labor, the coverage of social protection frameworks has become quite low. But the importance of the social protection framework has been one thing that has been realized specifically during the time of the COVID pandemic as well, when many of the governments across the globe had to expand their social protection systems vertically, horizontally, or had to create even new social protection schemes to accommodate the sudden needs of the population. So, and because during such occurrences, the populations which are affected are mostly the marginalized sections, which increases their vulnerability. So, the role of social protection schemes in making such populations resilient to such sudden impacts and shocks is quite immense. So this mostly establishes the fact that many international conventions as well as humanitarian organizations have stressed on the need for a expanded social protection framework, which will cover the risks and shocks that the climate change has created, and specifically for the marginalized section. So, also because there's an increased gap which has been seen in existing humanitarian aids, and they have realized that they alone will not be able to, the existing frameworks will not be able to deal with such vulnerabilities. So expanding the social protection framework has become really important. So moving on to the impacts that are usually seen under climate change. Until now, we have mostly been perceiving climate change as a long-term impact that the society is facing, mostly in the terms of increase in global temperature by almost 1 degree since the pre-industrial period, or even increase in sea level, or desertification, or all these, or loss of biodiversity. So all of these have been perceived as long-term impacts. But we have now realized that we have mostly moved past such long-term impacts, and now we have to deal with short-term shocks and risks that the communities have to face due to climate change. So these threats of climate change can no longer be dealt with alone by reducing emissions or creating carbon sinks, but we'll have to take active stances in protecting the social, economic, and civil rights which are usually infringed by the impacts of climate change. Yes. And the indirect impacts of climate change are mostly which needs to be focused upon. So usually we see that there has been an increased loss of livelihoods due to climate change, because and mostly the livelihoods which are dependent upon natural resources are facing the brunt of it. And also we see a lot of distress migration that happens because of climate change, where due to not being able to find alternate sources of livelihood, they'll have to adopt, the marginalized sections have to adopt to low risk and low return livelihoods, which entangle them in a cycle of poverty. And so since we have very less time, I think I'll just move on and try to focus on a few ways forward that we can focus on as a country. Sorry? Sorry? Yeah, sure, ma'am. Sure, ma'am. So I'll just focus on a few way forwards that I had found out from the secondary literature that I had reviewed. So what we can as a country do is that we'll have to adopt new social protection schemes which can respond to floods, extreme temperatures, or related climate related hazards. Then there's this concept of a climate risk insurance, where the state pays insurance to protect communities from the slow impacts of or even the shocks of climate change. Something that our country can work on, and since ours is a developing country, so we'll also have to find alternate sources of financing such initiatives and policies which will protect the communities. And also another thing that our country can focus on is that until now the responsibility of dealing with climate change as a phenomena has been focused on the state alone, or the social protection framework is something that actively involves just the state. But we can also explore the inclusion of informal organizations or community-based organizations like SHG groups, Yuva Mandals, Mahila Samitis, and others community-based organizations in actively dealing with the impacts of climate change, since they are equipped with traditional knowledge systems and local context, which will help them to contribute to this contribute to the social protection scheme better. And this is also in line with the National Mission on Strategic Knowledge for Climate Change, which has been adopted by under the National Action Plan for Climate Change by our country in 2008. These are some of the things that that our country can focus on. Yes, I think I'll conclude here. If there's any question, I'll.
Thank you, Professor Ananta. We look forward to questions. Do you have any questions? Any questions from students? I don't think we have any questions. I will move on. Do you have questions?
Ma'am, my question is, what was the key finding of your research and what is the main finding regarding the social protection framework that can be used to address the environmental issues?
Yes, sir, if I've correctly understood the question, it's about the key findings of this study, right, and how social protection can be used for climate change, if I'm not wrong?
Yeah, right, ma'am,
Right, sir. So, what I've mostly found out is that the existing social protection framework in our country is not equipped to deal with climate change related vulnerabilities that have been created amongst the communities. So, we'll have to expand the social protection framework for now, and that can be done through through looking, first of all, by involving the informal organizations in our society to do so, because climate change is something where the state alone cannot deal with. So the role of community-based organizations or the panchayats or the local level organizations is very important. So that is one thing. The role of these such kind of organizations in the social protection framework is one thing that can be further explored. Then another thing that is found out is that we'll have to look for alternative sources of financing to expand our social protection framework. So, which could be a partnership with the private sector, a partnership with the civil society, existing NGOs working in the sector. So, different stakeholders, mostly it is the climate change as a phenomena will have to be dealt with by many stakeholders together, and it can and the social protection framework to deal with it has not it not only is the responsibility of the state, but the community, active role of the community, civil society, and the private sector is important here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I request the paper presenters to please kind of limit their presentation to 5 minutes, maximum 7. Better would be to wrap it up within say. So we have the next paper presenter, Dr. Firdaus Ahmed Dar. He will be presenting on beyond poverty, unraveling the political dimension of social inclusion in Kashmir.
Respected Chair, Dr. Tabzir, Professor Madhisa, and other teachers, their students. Assalamu alaikum. This is Dr. Firdaus. As you know, I'm teaching political science. I will finish it in 5 minutes, hopefully. I will take you on a different journey, right? Oh, dear student, listen, Mano. I will take you on a different journey, because so far we have listened many things about social protection, inclusion. Let us see it from other side, because the policies that we are discussing, institutional backup and all that, right? There is no problem in it. But I am, as a student of political science, I am trying to look at it from a different point of view. That the point that I would like to make is whether it is whether the policies that have been framed or that are in place right now have a purpose to, whether the policies that are there, institutional backup there, whether those policies have been able to achieve the desired goals or not. Number second, if not, then where is the gap lies? I'm trying to see that gap. So we can uncover another perspective. The perspective that we'll see it from the political point of view. That whether the politics have any role in demarcating the lines who is other and who is privileged. I mean, social protection is all for those who are underdogs. If the term is heavy, let me be very clear. We are all, the way we have presented papers, I feel myself as underdog. I feel that we all in one way or the other way comes under the cover of this social protection. But I do not believe it at all. So that's why I said beyond empowerment. It is beyond empowerment. You have to go and see the other side. That's why. So, but the main focus will be on Kashmir, right? So the first slide you see it. I said and I believe that state's existence is wholly and solely based on the idea of larger good. So the good larger good means the good of all. So in that it tries to cover the balance and tries to get the balance between the two extremes. You have individual on the one side and on the other side you have the society. If you just do good for the individual, that will be at the cost of society. For example, let us assume for a moment, and if you just try to do good for the society, it may be at the cost of individual. So we all have to sacrifice for the cause of humanity, for the cause of those underprivileged. I mean, maybe tomorrow anybody else. So that's the first line. So, but largely in this, in achieving the larger good, the one thing that have motivated all of us to remain intact in the society is the prudence of the man. That man has to come up. Man has entered into a kind of contract where he or she has to surrender certain amenities of life, then come up with a new mechanism that's state. So, but at the same time, I do believe that it should not come at the cost of merit. That we all see that the merit should not be crushed by saying that we are achieving the larger good. But at times it gets crushed on the simple pretext that you are achieving the larger good. That's how I see it. Next slide, please. So this is the first slide, and the next one is So the next one is, I do believe, as I said it earlier, I do believe that states do try to make certain arrangements, especially for those who are at disadvantaged position, or who have historically been at wrong positions. I said it to my colleague, Dr. Tabzir. In this part of the world, we have a different geographical location. So while evaluating and assessing the process of social inclusion, you have to take geography as well. So that's not a problem. We don't have a problem with that. But that should not come, as I pointed out earlier, that should not come at the cost of merit, at the cost of performance. But at the same time, that should not come under the pretext of that you are including, and at the same time you are excluding many other people as well. So compensation is there for those people who have been historically denied to certain rights. So that's why the reservation policies have been made part of the Indian Constitution. You see, from the 47 reservation policies have been made a part of the Indian Constitution. You see, the fundamental rights, that could be some state policy. There are other articles as well, which empower people, which give them certain amenities, certain rights to be at par with those who are already at a good position. So I have no problem with that. Again, so democratic state, welfare state, all is okay. Progress, as I told you, progress has been made. There has been progress. The kind of arrangement that we have made in 47, that we will extend, we will give reservation to certain groups of the people for 10 years or 20 years. But later on we find that the reservation has not achieved the desired goal, as I said it. Again, you are just enlarging the group of people who are still underdogs, who are still underprivileged. So progress has been made on social indices, progress has been made on economic indices, but challenges persist. Policies, just focus on this point. Policies which were intended to uplift the marginalized people have failed to achieve the desired outcomes. Now coming to the Kashmir, when I say Kashmir region, in Kashmir, reservation or protective policies have always been there has been a long history for it. If you go and see the Gallant's Commission that was appointed by the Maharaja in 1931, they appointed it with this, not with the intention, look at this point, not with the intention to uplift those who are downtrodden, but to avoid the protesters from the Muslim community. Look the intention behind the reservation policies. He appointed this commission to avoid, to mitigate the grievances. That was the first point. And then later on, the coming of independence. Similarly, if you see the last time, if you go and see the last backward areas in many parts of the Kulgam district, I came across many cases where people have shared a story with me. They said that my village, not in the category of RBA or any other backward region, despite having good access to basic medical facilities, despite having good access to school, despite having easy access to district headquarters, and many other things, but still they enjoy these things. Is it all? How now? The question arises: why you are covering those people who are having already these kinds of facilities? So there, the question arises: is it all because you do it because you have political motives? You do it. You want to create the political constituencies of your own, the constituencies that will support you. And at the same time, there is no problem if you provide certain amenities there. But look at the criteria that you have selected. You have villages, look at your other side. There's a village in Longpura, that's backward, and look at the distance from the main headquarters. It is very easy, they have just 1.5 kilometers from the main district, main sub-district Dewa, but they enjoy these things. So this is how villages, and because of this policy, the other side say that, look at these policies have become the hubs of political corruption. Individuals have backing that the villages, those who seek this kind of advantage, they have a political backing, and political parties do prioritize constituencies. They do prioritize constitutional boundaries over fairness. That means at the cost of fairness and at the cost of this justice. So they have a lot. They are in the larger point is that they sacrifice this principle of fairness and justice and disregard everything that we see in the Indian Constitution. Be principle of equality, and equality does not mean that we treat all equal. That's a one dimension, but you have to go beyond it. So that's how. Look, if I say a person who sought to remain anonymous shared an anecdote with me. He said, as an educated individual, I diligently approached numerous public offices in the hope of securing good work. However, I was disheartened and frustrated by the excuse I encountered every term. I eventually dawned to me that without political backing, one's chance of obtaining meaningful work are extremely slim. Similarly, some other individuals have highlighted that how certain villages have been categorized and labeled as RBA villages, despite possessing numerous government facilities such as health, high schools, well-developed roads, high literacy rates, significant land holdings, and all while enjoying these and some other. This is blatant disregard for the principle of fairness. So this is how, and you see last time the Pahari community in the PFRI region, the reservation has been extended to them. Their simple reason is that once you extend the reservation to many communities, this is again a discrimination with us, because once you extend it, the chance of getting government jobs gets decreased, or it gets down. So this is how they say. And again, there is another, the quota law that's in place in Jammu and Kashmir. That's a bill still has to see the dawn. But it says simply that Jammu and Kashmir Scheduled Tribes Order Bill 2023 advocates for the inclusion of politically significant Pahari community and several other tribes in that bill. This is how they, but at the same time, Pahari community says that this is injustice with them, because already the people who they are about to include in the quota system have many things already with them. They are not good for that. They don't deserve it. So this is how there are. Again, if you see another important thing, that currently we have 12 villages in the Kashmir region who are at the LOC line, and in Jammu region we have 834 villages in Jammu region which have been classified as LOC villages, because they have certain benefits. That's how again Kashmir region gets marginalized at the cost of this social protection and all that. That's how I see it. That's how I also, the main findings are, you can go and last, you can see the main findings
serious questions for the efficacy of quotas in correcting historical justice and inequalities. The constitutionally mandated programs of preferential treatment policies, whose primary motivation was to serve certain good purposes, but now being used for political mobilization. Politically privileged groups have dominated and reaped lion's share in these policies. I mean, those you see again in the villages, you will come across people who have a major share in those policies. That's again a problem. And affirmative programs are always discussed as temporary experience, but later on we found they have been continued, they have been extended for the next 10 years. Thank you.
Any questions, please?
शुक्रिया सर, मुझे लगा कि मैं PDC गिरोह के असदुद्दीन ओवैसी को सुन
जो कुछ आपने इसमें पॉलिटिकल करप्शन के बारे में बोला, बहुत अच्छी बात है सुनने को मिली। और इतने मुख्तसर टाइम में आपने इतना सारा जिसको हम कहते हैं समंदर को कोसे में भरना, वो आपने किया। तो थोड़ा सा आपने स्कॉलरली आंसर इसका चाहिए कि मतलब अब इसके बारे में थोड़ा सा क्या करना चाहिए इसके बारे में।
जी सर, जैसे मैंने as I said in the very beginning that I'm trying to look at the problem that whether the affirmative action that we call social protection here in the sociological terms has really covered the desired goal. Number one, that I see there's a still there gap is still there. Now the question arises why after 75 years of India's independence, almost 80 years, 75 years of India's independence, gap is still there. Although you have achieved some sort of social and economic equality, but in the larger sense, inequality still lies there. You have almost 19% people who are still living below poverty line. Whether what I'm trying to see that this policy of social protection is being used as a tool to cover and to extend the benefit of these policies to those who are politically close to a particular candidate, particular political party. That's what I'm saying. I am saying, number second, I am saying that if you go and see the villages with a good facility, although if you go and by the criteria, they should not be classified as RBA villages, but still they enjoy the benefit. You take the example of Dabhal, Diaspora Kulgam. The villages having degree college, good health, hospital, health secondary, and many primary and secondary schools. But still they enjoy this kind of facility. Possibly because once you start the process, then you are not able to cover it within that time frame, and you have to extend it. You extend it because you know that once I close the scheme, possibly there will be political repercussions for that. That I'm trying to cover in this paper. Although it's very initial stage, I said I gave you a data, but that data is not enough to consult to substantiate my argument. But I'm trying to look at that gap. That's what I'm trying to do in this paper.
So we move on to the next presenter. I don't think So, Ms. Arpita Bhattacharya, are you okay with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Arpita?
Am I audible?
Yeah. But you're not visible.
May I start?
You're not visible or... Yeah.
Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes. So, are we speaking to Ms. Arpita?
Yes, ma'am. I'm presenting my research.
Yeah. So, Arpita will be presenting a paper on social security reforms in labor law and efficient way of social protection to increase resilience to unpredicted contingencies for the vulnerable workforce of the country. Please go ahead, Arpita.
I'll be presenting my paper on social security reforms on labor laws. So it is basically the laws here in India is in a transition period from the age-old laws, labor laws, to the upcoming labor code. So India is trying to pitch its economy for foreign investment. So the drawback that turned out to be is that the labor laws are old enough. There are limitations in it and numerous compliances and regulatory barriers. Since we can trace back our labor laws from the British era, there are in today's time there are irrelevant and ineffective laws. So we cannot protect the interests of the present working class, wherein the workers are deprived of social security, legitimate payments, and labor rights. So the NSDC report states that in the next 3 years, 64.8% of the Indian population will fall within the working age group. So it is a time that it is important to repeal the irrelevant laws, and so the government had decided to codify them into 4 labor codes, which should be simplified and in a consolidated manner. So the intention is to the well-being of the industrial workers and a better working condition for the industry. In this labor code, this is first time in India that the unorganized sector has also been included. If we see the social security, an adequate standard of living is a basic right as upheld by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and even in Constitution in India. Labor legislation is coming from a long back from the law of indices of Spain to BC, Babylonian to Guild and Apprenticeship system. Even Steel Act was implemented by the Parliament of UK, and later on the Cotton Mills and Factories Act. But social security is first introduced as a concept in Germany in 1883, wherein it was particularly intended to contribute an amount with reputed intervals for a particular trade people like teachers, goldsmiths, painters, to create a corpus fund. And this to be used for those who are disabled and aged members, that particular trade for their fooding, lodging and hospitalization. If you see the Indian scenario, in the pre-independence period, we come from the Factories Act to Trade Disputes Act, and later on the post-independence period, there's the implication of Industrial Dispute Act and Factory Act, Minimum Wages and Child Labor Act, and Employment State Insurance Act. But there is a huge role of the international organizations, like the Declaration of Philadelphia in 1944, but because the concept of social security came into life internationally as a basic human right. If we see the recommendation of 67 of the ILO, the security of income has been highlighted. The report of the National Commission of Labour in 1969 said that social security has become a fact of life, and those measures have been introduced as an element of stability and protection in the modern life. Yeah, so in the Social Security Minimum Standard Convention number 102 of 1952, it is a flagship of all ILO security conventions, and the basic security principles which establish the international minimum standard of security. There are 9 branches of social security. At least 3 branches should be ratified by the member states. That was expected by the ILO. If you go to the report of the Second National Commission, the Second National Commission chaired by Sri Ravindra Verma, it was in 1999, it was the 39% of the Indian labour contract, where the emphasis was given on the rationalization of labour laws in the unorganized sector in India. If we track the causes of social insecurity, we'll see in 1999, the governing body of the ILO in the conference of 2001, their objective was to the vision of social security, which is embedded in the basic principle of ILO, and the resolving the uprising challenges. The issue that was identified at the time was the interconnection and development and employment factors of the nation. The financial condition of the social security and the extension of personal, corporate, and social protection. Gender equality and expanding social dialogue and its implications on the work of ILO. There are several chapters for all of this part. India, there are
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Your sound is not coming clearly.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, now it is.
Yeah.
There is some noise.
Here there is no noise. Am I properly audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. From Article 14, 15, 16, 19, 1, C, 23, 24. These are all the articles that are guaranteeing equality, non-discrimination, and equality opportunity on employment. And if we start from Article 38 to 42, 43, and 43A, these are the guiding stars of the state, where the state can make laws in respect to labor. Labor comes as a subject in the concurrent list of the Constitution of India, where both state and central government can enact new legislation, and the central government reserves the right to frame some laws in special situations. These are the 4 labor codes that are upcoming. That the Code of Wages, the Industrial Relations Code, Occupational Safety, Health and Working Conditions Code, and the Code of Social Security 2020. We will be discussing on that. So on the Code of Social Security, there are 9 acts that have been compiled together relating to social security to extend security to all employees in the organized as well as unorganized sector. Our unorganized sector constitutes of 93% of the Indian workforce.
You have to keep your microphone away from you, because that's what's causing the noise.
Yes, ma'am. Should I continue?
Yeah, this is right. And could you please finish up with the topic?
Yeah, I'll try to. So the social security is in this labor code. The social security, the measures that have been taken to protect the employees, gig workers, unorganized workers, and platform workers, all of them in a whole. This is the first time in India where unorganized workers have been incorporated in the law. This is income security specifically for old age, sickness, invalidity, unemployment, and maternity, work injury, and a loss of a breadwinner has also been taken care of. Allowances and retaining allowances has been magnified, wherein increasing the social security contributions of the employer. Even the gratuity of the fixed-term employees to be on a pro rata basis at the time of the expiry of the employment term. A contribution not less than 5% of the annual turnover by the employees to the total social security fund has been directed in the code. And if we go for in this code, even a constitution of state building workers welfare board has been organized for the welfare of the workers engaged in building and construction to formulate and implement various schemes. The eligibility of gratuity in the previous laws were of 5 years. Now it has been turned to 3 years, diminished now for the journalists. And there is previously there are provisions for offences. Compounding has been done in this present labor code to reduce the prolonged prosecution and also to facilitate the opportunity to rectify the unintentional violations of provision, giving them a further opportunity to go by the law. There are fines also which have been reduced. The Labour Code has permitted the central government to pass order in case of security contributions of employee state insurance and employee provident fund in case of disaster or pandemic state. The National Social Security Board has also been will be established in this code under Section 1 and Subsection 3 of the code. It will be for 3 years term. This board will be advise the central government relating to the framing of the schemes and related to the code or monitoring the schemes, reviews and records of the state level. The State Insurance Corporation and Employee Provident Fund Organization will be supervising in the implementation of social security schemes established by the code, and the code they have mandatory directions for registration of unorganized workers, platform workers and gig workers to avail the facilities of the scheme under Chapter 9 of the code. There are certain pitfalls in this code. The upcoming code has certain pitfalls that they have failed to specify the provision about the obligations of the employees in conditions of pandemic. They have also failed to redress concerns regarding unions and its recognition in the IT industry. In small businesses and MSMEs, social security of employees has not been specifically addressed. Radial prospects in the code has no provision. And further, there are benefits such as for provident fund, medical facilities, these pension benefits. These are for employees above a particular salary slab, which indicates of a disparity towards the employees. The establishments that who will be using the code will be of employees 10 to 20 employees, and the rest of the establishment below that employee strength of 10 are not considered. There is no upgradation in the delivery of social security benefits in this code. There are certain incorporation of schemes has been adopted from the previous act, such as the ESI, Employees Provident Fund, linked deposit insurance, pension schemes and all. And further, to avail the social security benefits in the career center, the code directs employees to work and the worker to provide Aadhaar card details, which may be a contrary to the judgment of the Supreme Court of Justice K.S. Pushpaswamy and A.N.S. versus Union of India. There are certain government initiatives which has been taken in the organized workers, like Conference National Career Portal, Samadhan portals, UN facilities, Pradhan Mantri Rozgar Pratashan Yojana. It is also there for unorganized workers, also like Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana. So that foreign workers can come and work in the country. The judgment of D.S. Nakara versus Union of India in 1980, the Supreme Court has held that the principal aim of the social state is to eliminate inequality in income status and standards of life, and that socialism must aim to ensure adequate standard of living to the people and must focus specifically on security from the cradle to the grave. If we conclude, we can see that this is a social legal reform that is coming up. Even a survey has been conducted by the Confederation of Indian Industry and Grant Thornton Bharat survey, where around 4,000 respondents have been taken. And here it has been shown that the upcoming labor code, for instituting that, 43% of organizations are already on the process. This labor code will be a simplified code for enactment, and it is coming soon, and once it is effective, we can further think of see the pitfalls in it. So, thank you very much.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ms. Arpita, are you listening me?
Yes.
Your area of concern is social security reforms and labor laws, and attribute to social protection to increase resilience of unpredictable contingencies for the vulnerable workers of the country.
Can the question be written up? Actually, it is echoing.
This is your title, but I think you have specialized in labor laws, but labor laws and privatization. This is my question. Labor laws and privatization. Government is going to privatize each and every institution. What do you believe? What are government is to be? We have different sectors which are going to privatize. But here, as per Employees Provident Act, Employees Compensation Act 1993, in case of any emergency, in case of any resilience failure, we are giving compensation to employees. What is going to happen to these employees, those who get voted from normal services, government services to privatization? What is going to happen with these things? But here, your mind says, as per labor laws, these are not employee friendly, but I think so, these are so draconian and these laws are not being implemented as per are third position at social security for all laborers are a concern. What is your opinion?
Sir, will you repeat the question because it is echoing? I cannot hear the question.
Privatization is there and there is labor laws. My question is quite simple. मेरा कहना है कि आजकल प्राइवेटाइजेशन हो रहा है, गवर्नमेंट जॉब है वो प्राइवेट हो रही है, और यहाँ से हम लेबर लॉस की बात कर रहे हैं. जो एम्प्लॉयज कंपनसेशन एक्ट है 1923, आपको लग रहा है कि अगर बंदे को कोई अनड्यूड हुआ, कुछ एमरजेंसी हुई, कुछ प्रॉब्लम हुई, तो ये एम्प्लॉयज कंपनसेशन एक्ट 1923 इसे कोई रिलीफ देगा? यहाँ से उसने कोर्ट किया जाओ, वो पहले गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर में था, 10 दिन बाद उसकी जो सर्विस है वो प्राइवेट चली गई. There is again a cut. This is the cut of serving employees. What about those who are still untouched? Even though they are having degrees, they have prestigious privileges, cards and certificates, or honors.
There is a private organization, as far as I can understand the question is, there are private organizations, but they can approach the court of law for labor courts in related to issues that there are in case of security. There are every provisions under the law, and the upcoming law is not yet implemented. It will be implemented soon, so there we cannot state exactly. It is simplified, but it is a employer-friendly law also. So once it is implemented, you can only answer the situations at that time only. Where there are regulatory boards which has been organized.
Thank you. We'll now move on to the next speaker and the last speaker of the session.
Thank you.
We have Professor Mohammad Iqbal Bhat, who will be presenting this paper on blockchain technology for transparent and secure social protection systems in India.
Respected chair of the session, faculty members, and my dear students, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. I am Mohammad Iqbal Bhat, and my topic is blockchain technology for transparent and secure social protection systems in India. Here now we have talked and heard a lot about social protection and social protection schemes and what are the different challenges in those schemes. One of the major challenges that we face in implementation of these social protection schemes is how we can bring those social protection schemes to the audiences or to the less-known people. So for that, we are mostly relying on the technologies. Currently, there are different technologies that have been implemented for the dissemination of these social protection services. But recently, continuously the technology is evolving, and we are getting new technologies, new features. So blockchain is one such technology which came into existence in 2009 by an anonymous personality named Satoshi Nakamoto, and from that day till onwards, the use cases of this technology are enormous, and we are using this technology in many different spheres. And one prospective sphere for implementation of this technology is the social protection services. So we can use this blockchain technology to implement the transparent and secure social protection services. So this is the main abstract of my paper. So we can use this for implementation of social protection services in an efficient and transparent manner. So we want to implement these services, but the implementation hurdles are multiple. So we can use the benefits of this blockchain technology to implement it on the ground levels. So this is the construct we can go through because due to paucity of time, we will have to go very fast. So I will just give you a brief about what is a blockchain. You know that earlier we were saving our data or transactions on a manual ledger. And after that, when computers came, we transferred those data and those information into the computers and saved them in the form of files. But there are various inherent problems with the files. Then another technology came after the files, that is called database management systems. And we use it to store the data in a centralized, controlled and secure database. And after that, there are still some problems with those databases. So to mitigate those problems, the technology of blockchain was put forth to the world, and we can harness the power of this blockchain. Simply, how can we understand what is a blockchain? I will give you a simple example. If we have to make some transaction, for example, I have to send some data to this person, and I can make a witness, a centralized person. Shabir sir, I can make him a witness. He will record that transaction in a diary or in a file. But there is apprehension that this middle person who is holding the data, centralized data, he may get corrupted and he may tamper that data. So how can we ensure that this data does not get corrupted? So for that, the blockchain, it distributed the data. That centralized record is not placed at a single central place. Rather, we can create multiple and hundreds and millions of copies of that transaction statement. And we put those transaction statements throughout the world on different computers. So if some systems or some nodes get corrupted, but we cannot achieve the corruption of all the systems, which are in millions and billions throughout the world. So this is the technology that is being used in the blockchain, and we can take advantage of this blockchain technology. It is the most used technology, and a lot of research is being conducted on this technology. You can look at the statistics. In 21, $6.6 billion are spent worldwide on this blockchain technology and the different solutions on this blockchain technology. And the main sector where this technology is used is the banking sector. So blockchain is simply, it is a ledger on which we record our transactions or we store our data. For example, if I am a recipient of any services by the government, those services, the service or the benefit that I have received, that gets recorded on some computer or some server. But in this blockchain, we record those services on a blockchain network that is distributed throughout the world, and it is an immutable ledger. This means once you have recorded the data inside this blockchain, you cannot modify that. So in a database or in a file system, if you have written some data, you can later on modify that, you can tamper that. But this is an immutable ledger. Once you have recorded the data inside this ledger, you cannot modify that. That becomes immutable. And that is the most important benefit and feature of this blockchain technology. Then next, it is cryptographically secure. Cryptography is that branch of the computer science which helps us to protect our digital data. It is cryptographically secure, so this means no person can corrupt this data or they can take away this data without having the proper authorization or the proper key for that data. So in each block, what we record the transaction data, whether that is some kind of benefit given to a beneficiary, that is some kind of service, that is a money transaction, that is a land transfer document, anything we can record in this blockchain, and it has other features which are technologically related that I will skip here. Then there are some people who we call as miners. They are used to verify these transactions to make them secure and to add them to the blockchain. These are the features. First, it is decentralized. This means there is no single authority. When you create a bank account, there is a central authority. That central authority is holding your account. They can change your transaction amount or any data that is in their hands. But this remains decentralized. There are millions of copies distributed throughout the world. You cannot tamper this data. It is transparent. Any person can watch any kind of data or transaction that has happened on that blockchain. Then it is immutable. You cannot change the data. Then it is secure because we are securing this transaction cryptographically. Then there are smart contracts. These are the special kind of programs that we can execute on this blockchain network for the security purposes or for implementation of different kinds of constraints. Then it is efficient, privacy and data control. We can trace this data from beginning to any date. So we can go through this and then it is stable. We can scale it to any level. So if we see the social protection systems in India, there are multiple social protection systems that I will skip, but I will directly go to this. The social services expenditure. The expenditure on the social services is about 8.3% of the GDP, which is around 26.6 lakh crore rupees. That is being spent on these social services. So this means if we are spending this much amount on these services, then there should be some robust and secure system that will ensure the implementation of these services at the ground level. So if you see, these are the different statistics in the Economic Survey 22-23 related to social services. I was seeking them. These are the services, social protection services that we are getting from the government, like MGNREGA, National Social Assistance Programs and PMJDA1. But if we see, there are multiple challenges related to these services. The one is lack of transparency. How much amount has been spent in your village on a particular service, you don't know that. That is not transparent. But blockchain provides you a way that is secure, that is transparent, and every individual or citizen of the country can watch and view the data that the transactions that have been performed on that blockchain. Then there are inefficiencies and delays in the delivery of these services using traditional systems, because there are multiple layers through which these services are being delivered to the recipients. Then there are multiple frauds and corruptions that we see, like you know about the MGNREGA, the kind of frauds that we witness in the MGNREGA and the false and those accounts that have been manifested and created, and that. Then there is limited identity verification. And there is a special service that the government of India, a unique service that we call as Aadhaar, that has been mainly used to supply these different social protection services. And it is a 12-digit unique identification ID every citizen of India is having, and you can use this service, and almost all the students or the citizens of this country are having this. So we are using this Aadhaar for DBT, we are using it for multiple services. One ration, one nation, one ration. This has been possible because of this Aadhaar. We are having biometric attendances and many more services that are being delivered using this Aadhaar. But this Aadhaar is also having some problems, inherent problems. The first one is the privacy concern. You know that the Aadhaar captures not only your name and your demographic information, but your biometric information as well. We are registering our fingerprint, biometric information, retina scanning, facial this data. So this has some serious concerns related to the privacy of individuals. Then there have been multiple data breaches of this UDI server. The information where this Aadhaar data is stored, there has been multiple attacks on this. Then there is exclusion and access. Most of the services we see that some people are not having an Aadhaar and they will not be able to avail the service. And sometimes it doesn't recognize your information, demographic or biometric information, and at that time you cannot use this service. Then there are multiple authentication challenges related to this. There have been misuse and fraud. There have been, everything has been linked to this Aadhaar, and there are some legal and regulatory challenges related to this. So how we can mitigate those challenges using the blockchain? Blockchain provides an alternative way which is secure, which secures the data, whether that comes from the Aadhaar servers or from somewhere else. We can secure that transparent data inside this blockchain. And this is the proposed solution that I have given in this paper. So we can integrate the Aadhaar and blockchain to present a promising solution for enhancing the security, transparency and efficiency of identity management and verification process for implementation of these social protection services in India. So key objectives are to establish a connection between Aadhaar and UDI and blockchain technology. Then leverage the benefits of blockchain like the immutability, decentralization, transparency, and to strengthen the Aadhaar ecosystem. Then these are the 3 steps that I have proposed in this paper. We first need to establish an Aadhaar blockchain network first of all, and then we need to register the Aadhaar users on this blockchain network to secure their data, and then we can use it for identification and verification purposes to disseminate different social protection services. So this is the registration flow, the way how we can register on the blockchain network, then their process for verification. Then these are the other blockchain integration, how we can establish it. These are the multiple steps, and I have just given the headings here. This is a complete process that we can follow to integrate Aadhaar and blockchain, and then we can later use it for dissemination of social protection services. There are multiple benefits of this technology that we can use. We can enhance transparency, improve efficiency, strengthen security, then empower the individuals, then there is auditability, and then technological advancement. We can go for that collaborative approach. We have to integrate multiple services with this blockchain then, and then we can use it for the transformation of different services. So in conclusion, we can use this technology, this 21st century technology, for dissemination of these different social protection services in a secure and transparent manner. Thank you. If you have any questions?
You have questions?
Yes, sir.
सर अच्छा लगा सुन के मुझे, बहुत अच्छा लगा सर। लेकिन एक बात है सर, यहाँ पे आज की दुनिया में सबसे बड़ा खतरा है वो ये है कि बिग डेटा का जो खतरा है, उसमें आप देख लीजिए, आपने देखा होगा वो कॉम्प्लेक्स एनालिटिका, जिसमें कॉम्प्लेक्स एनालिटिका आपने केस सुना होगा, फेसबुक वालों ने या फेसबुक का भी कुछ मसला रहा, उन्होंने किस तरह डेटा भेजा होगा, और वही मसला यहाँ आधार का भी था कि आधार को है जब हम लिंक करते हैं तो एक डेटा बन जाता है, डेटाबेस का किसी थर्ड पार्टी को भेजी जाती है, आई मीन यू कैन सेल इट। तो उसमें आपको जब ब्लॉकचेन से ये मतलब ब्लॉकचेन से सोशल प्रोटेक्शन आपको उसमें आप ये एड्रेस कर रहे हैं, तो आपको क्या लगता है ब्लॉकचेन उससे बड़ा खतरा नहीं बन जाएगा?
This is a valid question and valid concern that whenever we register on different services like Google, Facebook or any other services, then they sell out our data. We are registering there, they know everything about us, whatever we are searching, whatever we are using on the internet, and then they sell out this information to different advertisers or private agencies, and they earn the money. But here the question is different. The government cannot sell this information to the private organization. That is the first thing, because whenever you register on Facebook, you are giving them consent to sell that information. That we cover under the EULA, end user license agreement that we see, and then we click on the agreement. So here we are giving the consent to sell that information. But here this is secured by the government, it is taken by the government, and government cannot sell it to the private organization. They can just use it for the transfer of different services for authentication purposes. This Aadhaar is mainly used for authorization and authentication purposes to identify a particular individual in the country, whether that is an individual or citizen or that he can take the service. So for that we are using. Now there are some inherent problems with that because those servers have been attacked. That data is not secure. Though government is taking many initiatives to secure that, there are multiple securities that have been implemented. But when we talk about blockchain technology, it will not replace the current Aadhaar system. The current Aadhaar system will remain intact, but it will secure the data for verification purposes on a different network. Then if you have to perform or you have to supply some benefit to a beneficiary, then you can verify that on this Aadhaar. You can record those transactions on this Aadhaar blockchain network. You can record that, and then those will be transparent. Every individual will be.
who are just hackers, who can hack your whole system.
No, blockchain is considered to be the most secure network because it has been first tested on financial services. That is the most critical service in the world. So where we can secure the critical financial services like the Bitcoin. The current cost of the Bitcoin is around 30 lakh rupees. And it is because of this secure blockchain network that is providing the security at the back end, and we are relying on that. So it is secure, we cannot crack that door. Their technology is advancing and we can crack it anytime, but there will be definitely some alternatives or to mitigate those things. So we can secure those so that we can record the social protection service transactions on this blockchain.
शुक्रिया सर, आपने बहुत अच्छी तरह से सोशल प्रोटेक्शन की स्कीम्स और ब्लॉकचेन को लिंक किया और इसकी इम्पोर्टेंस भी थोड़ी सी हमें समझ में आ गई। एक दोस्त है, उसने बहुत मेहनत मशक्कत करके करीब 2 लाख अपने अकाउंट में जमा किए। लास्ट में वो वही ऑनलाइन फ्रॉड का शिकार हो गया और उसका अकाउंट खाली हो गया। मेरा सवाल ये है कि ब्लॉकचेन या इस तरह की कोई और मतलब कोई सिस्टम वो कब वजूद में आएगा कि इस तरह की जो ऑनलाइन फ्रॉड्स हैं वो रुक जाएंगी और मेहनत मशक्कत करके एक आम इंसान जो है वो इस सिलसिले में महफूज हो।
This is a very valid question because nowadays with every moment we are shifting towards digital world, and that is a fact, and we cannot deny it. We cannot take into isolation ourselves in that direction because that is a fact. But how we can secure ourselves? There are multiple security procedures that we have to follow. It is not just that the app is secure. It is there are multiple attacks. Those we call as social engineering attacks that can be performed, and those attacks are only possible because of our negligence. If we are negligent and if we are ignorant and we don't know the technology or the protection measures, then we may be the victim of those attacks. So first of all, the service providers, their job is to provide secure applications. But as individuals or as the service users, end user service users, we have to use those services in an efficient manner. If you remember in a lecture I told you that if you are not smart, then you should not use smartphone because it will make you fool and it will ruin your career. So we have to be very smart people to use these smart services. So for that we require awareness, and we are performing those, government is performing at education institution level, we are performing different awareness programs so that we can aware people how they can securely use these transactions. So for that there is a job that pertains to us and a job pertains to the application provider.
मेरा प्रश्न ये है कि सर हेलो सर ये जो ब्लॉग है इससे हमें कहाँ तक मदद मिल सकती है? जैसे कि अगर हम बात करें आधार कार्ड में हम बायोमेट्रिक इस्तेमाल करते हैं। अभी लाइफ इतनी इजी बन गई कि हम जो भी ऐप्स आ रहे हैं उनमें हम बायोमेट्रिक इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं, वो तो रिकॉर्ड हो रहा है। लेट अस टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ पेटीएम, उस पे हम बायोमेट्रिक यूज करते हैं तो उससे हमें सिक्योरिटी थ्रेट है, तो वो इसमें कैसे आएगा सोशल प्रोटेक्शन?
यहाँ पे जो कंसर्न है ना, द कंसर्न इज जो आपने डेटा दिया है ना यूडाई को आधार के वक्त, हाउ टू सिक्योर दैट डेटा. फर्स्ट कंसर्न इज दैट. So that can be secured on the server that is available on the servers of UDI. They are having their servers. So if someone attacks that server, he will get every kind of information about every citizen of this country. That is the concern. So first question is how we can secure that data. This is the authentication purpose. You are using Paytm. They are using this Aadhaar to authenticate, to verify whether you are a specific person or not. So that is a different question. The question is how we can secure the data that is available on the UDI server. So for that I am proposing this blockchain technology that we can use to secure that, and then we can use to record the different transactions for these social protection services.
such a wonderful presentation, and it was really interesting to see how some presenters talked about the institutions which are gender biased and then they can prevent us from effectively implementing social protection schemes. Then some presenters highlighted or put up their concern about labor laws and then the climate change, the paper on climate change. We talked about how vulnerable sections of the society are affected by climate change, and then social protection needs to include that as well. Then there was again another question on the very nature of the social protection policies themselves, that whether they are actually encompassing the principle of fairness and justice. And though we have right now there is debate, not in political science, political theory as well, that the state needs to be rolled back somehow. But then while we are talking about rolling back of the state, at the same time we are also talking about how to make these social protection laws more robust and inclusive so that all the members of the population are included in that. And it is very interesting to see how we can also incorporate blockchain technologies to actually help us with making our social protection systems more secure. But to conclude, I can just see these straight lines that there are many challenges to social protection, especially the era of COVID. It threw us into another gear and it was a new world for us. So now under the influence of COVID and then governance is challenged, we have many challenges that the social protection system and the person who are in charge of these social protection schemes, that they need to incorporate these challenges, they need to look or listen to the new inputs that are coming up from our researchers, from our faculty members, and then only the society or the policies can be actually all inclusive, which can lead to a holistic development of the whole society. I'm really again thankful to the great presenters for their wonderful presentations. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Dear presenters, your thought-provoking presentations and engaging discussions have enriched our understanding of the subject matter and provide us with invaluable knowledge. Your passion and dedication to your respective fields have inspired us all to strive for excellence and constantly push the boundaries of innovation. Now I am going to present board of thanks on behalf of Government Degree College, Birwar, to all presenters, students, faculty members, and to the board chair. I stand before you today together with gratitude and appreciation to express my heartfelt thanks for the successful culmination of technical session 4. This remarkable event would not have been possible without the contribution of several individuals who have dedicated their time, knowledge, and efforts to make it a resounding success. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt thanks to our esteemed chairman, whose guidance and support have been invaluable for the entire session. Your visionary leadership and unwavering commitment to foster technical excellence has set a remarkable precedent for all of us to follow. We are truly honored to have had you to steer this session towards greatness. To the presenters who share their expertise, insights, both physically as well as virtually, I extend our sincerest appreciation and thanks to them. To virtual participants were Professor Anusha Rajguru and Mrs. Arpita Bhattacharya, who have made it possible to present virtually. Thank you very much. I would like to extend my gratitude to the exhausted and attentive audience, including students who graced this first session with their presence. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to Professor Zohra Mushkaq for guiding and presiding the whole session throughout the whole time. Your eagerness to learn, thirst for knowledge, and dedication to personal and professional growth are truly commendable. Your presence here today demonstrates your commitment to stay updated with the latest advancements in your subjects and chosen fields, and I am confident that you will emerge as the next generation of graduates and innovators. Thank you once again, and may we continue to strive for excellence in all of our future endeavors. Thank you very much all. Now we are going to have the lunch. Students can take their lunch at the canteen, and those faculty members and guests can have lunch in the main building. All students and faculty members are requested to attend the valedictory function. We shall start at 3 p.m. in the main ground in the tents. Okay, thank you very much.